Hello, my loves. Just going to give it a moment to allow for people to get the notification that I am live. And let me share this into a group. There we go. When you are hopping on, let me know that you're here. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you're catching the replay, say hashtag it replay so that I can give you some love. Hi, Vanessa. Girl, I don't know what is going to be happening in Texas. I know you're in Texas, right? I have been hearing Texas clairaudiently for about a week. So, hi, Meredith. I have no idea. Hi, Kelly. I have no idea what's going to go down in Texas, but I feel like there is something coming for Texas. Like, I don't listen to the news, so I know there's all kinds of crazy crap happening at the border, and I know there's things going on, but I don't think that's it. Like, something is coming for Texas. I don't know if it's weather. I don't know if you guys are going to have another snowstorm. I don't know if there's just going to be some political crap. I don't know. Something is coming for Texas. Maybe I'm going to Texas. I don't know. I'm in Texas. I want to go down and what? What, Vicky? That doesn't even make sense. Okay. Hello, guys. Hello. For those of you who are just finding me and going, who is this woman? I am Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multi-dimensional channel teacher and healer. Stepping into my embodiment phase of my mission, where I help you guys all, guide you guys all to align to your divine matrix so that you can become one with all aspects of yourself, really step into the totality of who you are so that you can create the reality that you're desiring. And here comes my kitty. Here comes Ginger. So let's talk. What do you guys want to talk about today? I know for me, I know the energy that we're in is can be a lot. Oh, that's a good thing. So let me address this. I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering how come I didn't do a January energy update, because I have done energy updates for the last 5 years every month. And I want to address that because I'm sure people are wondering, why aren't you doing good morning? Hi, TikTok. Hey, Julie. I haven't been doing, I didn't do an energy update this month, and I don't know if they will come back. I will do them as I feel called because I'm about to talk about the energy a little bit. But here's something that's happened. So, I talked about in our last cosmic conversation, and for those who did the 2022 webinar, oh, I'm so sorry. No, ma'am, you got to get down. For those of you who were on the 2022 webinar, I talked a little bit about this too. There's two clear divided timelines that you will feel and see in 2022 in the collective. And I'm on the timeline where I'm really shifting into the higher realms, where it's just everything is so present. If you're not present, you really are weaving into the lower dimensional frequencies. You're choosing to play in the lower dimensional frequencies. And it's just not serving me. And so when I go and try to discern time, when I go and try to make what I'm sitting in, and this is probably going to be hard for some of you to understand, but when I try to make myself linear and I try to put all of the wisdom and all of the information that channels into a linear timeline, it just doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't mean that I won't talk about the energy. It's just going to be in the moment when I feel called, when it's relevant, because time is so fluid. It's just a marker for events. That's all time is. It's just a marker for events. And the way that our frequency is evolving on the planet, it almost becomes out of integrity to try to forecast the month because we are evolving and changing so quickly. Our frequency and the rate of speed in which because so vibration, for those, I know some of you have heard me say this a million times, but vibration is the rate of speed that we process information. So as our frequency increases collectively as a planet, as your frequency individually raises, as you go through your seasons of evolution, you process information at a higher rate of speed. So I'm starting to process information at a rate of speed and seeing how the collective is doing the same in a way that things are changing daily. So I don't no longer feel called to do long range forecasts because that's the energy that I am. So when you start trying to sustain new earth frequencies, right, which we were going to say lives on the fifth dimension, because it does, it lives on that fifth dimensional frequency. When you move into a state of sustainment, right, and that's where I'm going into, it's not that we don't go into fifth, sixth, seventh, 12th, eighth, whatever frequencies, right? We don't go into that level of consciousness. We can't. If you meditate, you go into that, right? When you're doing healing work or readings or whatever, creativity, you're going into those higher dimensional frequencies and versions of you. But to sustain it long term is a whole different ball game. And in that sustainment, in order to sustain new earth frequencies, no, there can't be any judgment. There can't be going into the future, and there can't be going into the past. It's a state of presence. And presence with whatever you're doing and allowing yourself to be guided into that next present moment and the next present moment and the next present moment. So I'm trying to find my balance in that. And it's a new footing for me. So the energy here is different. The clouds look different. The sky is different. The color spectrum is wider. So you see colors that you really have never seen before. You feel things that are different. And I know a lot of channels that are going through the same thing that I am, because in December, most of us that are in where I am in the stage of evolution that I'm in. I know a lot of other channelers are in the same thing. And December was a very rough month for us across the board. Like the whole month was just shit because we were evolving. We had to go through the dark and alchemize it and bring it to the light and crystallize it. And now we're like, hey, I got to find my new balance here as we come out of it. So it's an interesting thing. And you guys get to witness it because I'm super transparent, right? I'm not someone who does the shit behind the scenes and then, moves on. I really bring it to you. And I'm just honest and transparent like that, So anyway, that is why I haven't been doing the energy updates. And honestly, I think sometimes it puts us in an energy of expecting something to happen instead of allowing things to happen. So moving forward, it's not that I won't ever talk about it. It's just going to be when I feel called. So right now, the current energy is highly creative. And if you don't use the energy in that form of creativity, of mind expansion, of non-perfection, of just allowing things for you to take all this, because it's a lot of energy coming in right now, right? A lot of energy. We went through another upgrade in our collective frequency, meaning we're processing collectively way more information. And for some people, that's going to feel like anxiety. It's going to feel like obsessive thinking. It's going to feel like psychosis. Because again, psychosis is when we lose ourselves. We can't identify ourselves anymore because those filters of separation, which are limiting beliefs, those veils of separation, again, those are limiting beliefs, are being removed right now at an unreal rate of speed. So as those filters or limiting beliefs are removed or dissolved, honestly, all of a sudden we're having more, and everybody's going through this at some level. We start to have access to an awareness of more of ourselves. So for me, I became aware of my Andromedan self last month. and they have actually been with me at some shape or form since 2019. I kind of want to talk about that, but I don't know if I'll do it today. Um, so we become aware of other versions of ourselves, whether it's the human versions, which we play in the lower densities, right? Inner children, ego aspects, protector personalities, or if it's our higher self, or our Pleiadian self, or our Turian self, or our Andromedan self, or our ancient self, whatever version is showing up right there. And it's not that they come in and out, it's that they all exist at the same time. They all exist simultaneously. And when you don't know how to discern your energy, when you don't know how to read and discern your own energy and understand the aspects of you that are showing up, it can make you feel like you're going crazy and that you're losing yourself and that there's too many noises or voices in your head. And so this is why, again, I always am stressing to you guys, learn to read and discern your energy. And if you're new to that and it's something you want to dive into, the energy matrix phase 1 is where you want to go, right? It is going to be the game changer for you. And that when we do those things, that's how we feel confident in ourselves. We trust ourselves because we're like, oh, I know that this is a version of me. And that's the human part. The human aspect comes in and creates the separation for identification, right? Because it's only the ego mind that wants to identify things. It's only the ego mind that wants to identify. And that's part of this journey, is coming in and separating everything to understand it more. And then when we understand it more, it crystallizes back into the whole, and we no longer need it to be identified. We just know it's the version of our energy stepping forward or taking control, and the other one's kind of lean back. So that's kind of what happens, so a lot of times people don't realize that. So in this energy, that's what's happening, is these limiting beliefs or veils of separation are dissipating, and your mind's going through expansion right now. And so we can start to become aware of all these other aspects of self. And when we don't discern that they are aspects of ourself, we think we're going crazy. So this is a time for high creativity. When you think about people, like the person coming to mind is Jim Carrey. So when Jim Carrey went through his awakening, if you have seen small things, like he's very private now, but he has had shown things like inside of his house now. He does a lot of painting. And so he just allows for expression, and he just does these massive paintings now, right? Where you think about people like Albert Einstein or Nikola Tesla, they channeled their creativity into experiments and playing with energy to figure out how things work, right? They just allowed all these aspects of their mind to come together, and they looked like they were crazy. They looked like something was wrong with them, and they would disappear for days and on end, and just exploring their creativity. And it just shows you that when you tap into that expansive energy, that you become more limitless. Like your energy expands, and before you know it, it's been 2 days or 5 hours, and you're like, where did the time go? Because you were just in such a present, expansive place. So anyway, um, Amsterdam. Yay, that's awesome. Let me put my glasses on because I cannot read TikTok comments without them. Good morning. Okay. So anyway, apparently we needed to channel that out. So we started with that. Be awesome if I come to Texas. I actually know a few people in Texas besides you. So I don't know. Anything's possible. There's going to come a time where I'm going to be back out in doing live events. I had one last year for the first time in a couple of years, at least since COVID hit, where in Detroit, Michigan area. So I want to start doing more and getting around the world and getting back on what I call touring. I've been picking that up to about the present moment. Yeah, it's such an interesting feeling. It's such an interesting feeling to just, to really work on and discern. But I wanted to, I wanted to share that because I think there's a lot of us who are going through that even if you're not a channeler and in the public eye like I am, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you have to be that, but there's a lot of people going through that season of evolution right now that are like, what's going on? It's 11:11. They don't know. They don't know what's happening to them. And then the other side of that, the other timeline, because there's going to be two divided. There's going to be, everybody right now is in the fourth dimension, if or above. I mentioned that, but when you're in the fourth dimension, is a bridge. And so again, these dimensions are frequencies. So third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, they're all frequencies, bands of frequencies. And each one of those is a lens of perception. So dimensions equal perception. So how you see the world, how you play, how you experience, how you speak, how you think, how you feel at any given moment will tell you, if you are discerning and present enough, where your frequency is and where you're playing. And so what's helped me recently is to know that when I am in a lack, right, when I feel that moment of lack, or when I feel like yesterday, I had some things come up. They were tests. There's a lot of us that are going to be, everybody, let me just rephrase that. Everybody is going to be tested this year in a way that they have never been tested before. But anyway, yesterday I had some tests show up for me, and I think I did okay, but they really were a challenge. I had to be immensely present. In the moments that I was not present, it sucked me down so fast, because that weight of the past and revisiting something and replaying it to see, did I do this right? Right? Not looking at the wisdom. That's one thing, going, hey, hindsight, what would I have done differently? But when we go back into the story and we replay it again and we tap into guilt, shame, all of those low energies, it's very heavy and it can quickly suck you back down. And so what I started noticing is when that happens, was to use my purification process that I teach, the four frequencies, but is number one, right? As I see you, it was to just acknowledge and be like, hey, fear is here right now. Stress, anxiety is here right now. There's a lot of energy around me right now, right? So anxiety is just an abundance of energy that you are taking personally. And so I would notice, like, wow, I'm feeling a little anxious. There's a lot of energy here. And then I calling it out, it would dissipate, and I would come back to myself. And the fear story would come up, or the guilt story, or whatever it was, which is all fear, right? And I would just notice it and be like, okay, this is here. This is how I'm seeing the world right now. This is the frequency I'm playing in. And doing that, it does what I say, choice is your control. Choice is your control. So I recognize this is where I am, and I'm either going to choose to be here and play it out to what it needs to be, or I'm going to choose to lean back and observe it. So anyway, this is kind of the stuff that we do in private mentorship, but I had that experience yesterday. And so that's something that's been helping me, is just using my own system that I designed and coming back to acknowledging it and not playing in it, being aware of it, noticing that that's a version of me that's there, that's driving my vehicle, and me saying, okay. And sometimes, like I talked about in our last cosmic conversation that we had, I said, sometimes that aspect of us needs to take the wheel. Sometimes a lower aspect of us needs to, and this is where I do parts work, right? So in my course Reclamation, I talk about how you, God, that course is so good, but where you allow that version of you to take over you temporarily and in a controlled environment, so that part of you, whether it's an inner child that never got to express their anger or their sadness or speak out or talk back or whatever they need to stand up for themselves, or protector personality that needs to defend the inner child, whatever it is showing up, that aspect of you sometimes needs full expression. And that full expression, when you allow it in an observatory point of view, not because you got sucked in and went on a rampage and flipped out and lost your lit, that doesn't count. But when you're in an observatory point of view and you can observe every step that's happening and everything that aspect of you is thinking, feeling, and saying, when you allow them to take full expression, it is the fastest way to crystallize an aspect of you. I did it in 3 days, and on a huge part of me. And this is something that I will be doing more of, in private mentorship and focusing on, So it's just such an interesting journey. And we think that once we get a set of tools, or we do the private mentorships, or we read the book, or we took the course, or we listened to 85 hours of YouTube channelings, or whatever the case may be, right? Whatever you think it is, by all the people, we think, oh, was it ever going to end? This story is showing up again, or this lack program is showing up again. And it really doesn't end. It just doesn't. I think that's the biggest joke of all, is we think that there's an end game, and there isn't. There is no end game. It's every level gets harder in intensity. Look at a video game. That is what we're doing. We're playing we are avatars, and we have avatar consciousness, and we are playing the game of Earth. And we master a level and we think we're hot shit. And then we go to the next level and we have to go through that level 85 times until we master it. And it's not that it's different than the level before. It's the same story, but at a new level of intensity. Like the characters upgrade, and the scenery upgrades, and your abilities upgrade. So now you have more power, and you have more awareness, and you have more tricks, and you can move through it faster the better you get. So it's really important for us to remember that. The other thing that's really wanting to come through, that I keep hearing, that I'm gonna go to next, is this: truth is subjective. Whether it's on the media, whether it's me talking, whether it's someone else's channeling, whether it's your parents, your spouse, your children, your siblings, whatever, your friends, truth is subjective. Truth is based upon the lens of perception the person is speaking through. And truth can only come from a place of love. And that is the important part that you need to hear. Truth only comes from love. And something that kind of took me off guard was on my last video. At the very end, I said, you channel through your heart, not your crown. And someone said, oh, that's a great tip. Nobody should ever be channeling through their crown, ever. You don't channel through your crown. You channel through your heart. Your heart is the gate to the soul. Your heart is the gate to the multiverse, to the multiple versions of you, because you are the universe within the universe. It's not that you need to walk into a multiverse or even the universe. You are it. And this is what people misconstrued. You are it. Everything is always trying to teach you to remember that, if you look closely enough, if you understand it enough. So when we understand that, the purest truth comes from the heart. Anything that is not of love, rooted in love, coming from a place of love, for the best interest, again, a state of love, is a lie, is the falsehood. So when you're watching the news, when you are listening to somebody speak, when you are reading an article, when you are out in the world, if someone, including yourself, is not coming from a space of love, what they're saying is false. But it's their falsehood, right? That's their truth. They're looking through a false lens. They're looking through a shadow aspect. It may be their truth because that's all they know. It's all they can do. So that's really important for you guys here. And so what does that mean on a human level? If you're doing something or saying something or creating something or buying something, and it's not coming from a place of, this is amazing, this feels so good, this fills up my own cup. You guys have heard me say, for me, for you, for us. If you're not coming from that space, you're not coming where whatever you're doing, saying, creating doesn't fill up your cup first, it doesn't feel good, just the action of doing it without the reward, then you're not coming You're not coming from a place of love. You're coming from a place of falsity. You're trying to take something or do something or say something so that it will create love inside of you. It's a big difference. So I hope that that clicks and that you understand. Salim says the purification process is so powerful. It really is. It's like, I think my next book actually is going to go really deep, and it will be the whole book. Morning from Oregon. Blessings to you. Hopefully it finds you well. Thank you. Blessings to you as well. We're talking about all kinds of things. Okay, so let's see what the comments are in here. That's why we can feel out of alignment with others when they use criticism covered in caring to help others, because it's not from their heart. When they use, well, anybody who's using criticism, if you're criticizing, if someone's criticizing you or you're criticizing another, you're really criticizing yourself. So whatever criticism you're receiving is criticism is a judgment. Criticism is a judgment. Judgment doesn't exist in the new earth frequencies, but judgment shows where somebody is repressing their own divine light, right? They feel disempowered. And so in order to feel powerful again, they need to make you feel less than. Now we can have constructive criticism, which is more like, hey, I think this is awesome, but can I give you suggestions on a better technique? Or can I give you suggestions, or like, hey, your energy felt a little off balance today. Are you okay? Like, it's checking in. So it's important not to take that criticism personally, but when someone's criticizing you or judging you or being rude to you, they're just showing you how they feel about themselves. And what that's showing you is an opportunity. Usually that when you're calling that in, because you did at some level call that in, it's going to be a test. It's either a reflection of how you criticize you and you judge you, showing you what you do to yourself, or it's a test of your boundaries to say, am I going to allow their truth to replace my truth? It's not, it won't ever be from their heart. Criticism doesn't come from the heart. I have to be very aware of my thoughts. Yeah. But it's important to recognize, you guys, that the thought field is the collective thought field, right? So you can have the inner dialogue of the different aspects of yourself, but then there's also a collective thought field, just like the clouds in the sky. And that's why Master Metatron always says, like, thoughts are just theories. What you attach to becomes true. So if you can just observe that you have all these thoughts, that's why I was telling the story about how I was observing myself, then you can you don't care that your thoughts that you have a ton of thoughts going by. You're aware of them, but you're not focused in on them. I don't know if that makes sense. Good. Okay. So what else do you guys want to talk about? It seems to be what the Andromedans wanted to share this morning. So how's everybody feeling with all of this? There's so much. I've been pushing it out, not sure why, because I thought they were laid to rest, but there's a clarity with that. But it's, what? Okay, Meredith, there's so much, but I'm pushing it out, not sure why, because I thought they were laid to rest. But there's a clarity with it that it's for my son. I'm not sure what you were talking about. Setting boundaries, Barbara says setting boundaries is very hard sometimes, especially when it comes to family or close friends, but to remain in a good, healthy heart space is so important to do. And at least for me, yeah, agreed. It's not easy. None of this is easy. But I wouldn't say it's hard either. It's a choice. Because boundaries say, most people don't understand what boundaries are. Boundaries are not a fence. They're not a line. Boundaries are what defines you, what you're made of, what your values are, what your virtues are, who you are. When you know what you are and who you are and what works for you and what doesn't, what you will tolerate and what you won't, what you how you expect yourself to show up, how you know how you are to be treated. When you know who you are, what your beliefs are, what you know to be true, that is the boundary. And so when anybody tries to offer you something that does not flow or align with who you are, you're given a choice. Do you want to become what they need you to be, to make them happy, to please them so that they will love you and accept you and need you? Or will you stay true to you and say, you know what? I'll listen to what you have to say, but that's not something that aligns with me. But I'm more than happy to help you maybe find someone that can do that for you or be that for you. But it's in the moments when we violate our own boundaries, it means that we're doing or saying something that we don't want to do so that we're not rejected, abandoned, not needed. That's all boundaries are. So we think it's hard for our family, but that just shows you the places where it's hard is where you lose yourself to please another. And I know a lot about this because that was my life. That was my life. And so, yes, it is challenging when your children come to you or your significant other come to you or your parents come to you and they say, you know, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. And you feel like it's your responsibility to do all those things or to be all those things. But if it does not feel good for you to do and be, because it's not who you are and it doesn't light up your soul, doing that is actually abandoning yourself, rejecting yourself, sabotaging yourself. Those wounds of abandonment and rejection, they come from us. They stem from us doing it to ourselves. It always, you will not attract it in if you are not doing it to yourself. The external reality is only a vibrational response to your inner state of being. You can say that again. The reality that you see, people, places, and things, is a vibrational response to your inner state of being. So when that happens, we have to come back. So yesterday when I had those things come up, I said, what is this trying to show me? And I was able to see where my state of being was and how I called those in so that it could help me. So I could evolve. It's like having a puzzle in your mind. This is a cool analogy that they're bringing through. It's like having a puzzle in your mind and you trying to work it out. So, let's make it easier and let's put the puzzle in tangible form in front of you so that you can see it, work with it, see it, all the sides of it, see where it fits, get that bigger view. So let's take this energy that's jumbled up inside of you and let's make it real externally so you can walk around it, so you can feel it, so you can interact with it. Kind of makes it less triggering when we look at it like that, right? I actually really like that analogy. It's really intense right now. I can totally resonate with you saying that one will be really tested. I'm feeling like I'm being tested on all areas right now of my life, being asked to show my boundaries and let go of all. No idea, because it probably cut it off. Or that's the end of it. Yeah, everybody's going to be tested this year. Everybody's going to be tested. Are are you how are you going to choose to show up in this world? Because there's so many people in the collective right now that are still waiting for things to go back to normal. They're still waiting for the government to get their shit together. They're still waiting for this virus to be over with. They're still waiting for things to go. They're not going to get better. It's not going to just go away. The thing that's going to change it is when each of us realize that the reality is a vibrational response of our state of being. We are all responsible for going inward and adjusting our frequency. Can you feel that? I can feel that in my body when I say that. So stop waiting and be. You have to be the change when nobody's looking. You have to be the change when you're at home alone, watching TV, scrolling social media, sitting with your thoughts. How are you going to choose to act, to respond? What frequency are you going to choose to see the world through? Are you going to judge because you think nobody can hear you? You're contributing to the collective. You have to be. You can't just say, I want to see the world like this, or I want people to behave like that. I need to be that. And when everybody gets that and takes their power back and says, I am a sovereign, self-responsible person that's contributing to a whole, the world will change. But until that happens, the pressure will increase, the intensity will increase in a way that feels discomforting, right? Those things can also feel amazing. But until then, you will see the negative aspect of that and feel the negative aspect of that, pressurizing you to let go of control, because that's the only thing you can let go of. To let go of control and to allow yourself to be guided into the unknown. And that's a part of sustaining New Earth that's very uncomfortable. I am being asked right now personally to let go of all control. So I can only speak for myself, and I've witnessed this from other channelers who are in this energy as well. We're being asked to let go of all control, to walk completely on into the unknown of uncertainty. And I'm just going to be really honest. I know that I'm moving. I don't know where I'm moving to. I know that it will be probably the end of March, early April, in that time frame area. I'm being asked to I was already pretty minimalist lifestyle. I don't buy a bunch of crap. I don't have a lot of clutter. But I'm being asked to let go of material possessions again. And anytime I try to take control, I try to do something that I think is what I'm supposed to do, it gets ripped out from underneath me. I'm being asked to let go of all concepts of linearity. I don't think that's a word, but they say we make words. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And it doesn't really matter, because what they're wanting me to do is face fear itself, because fear will always attach to something. You think you're afraid of not having enough money, or you think you're afraid that somebody won't love you. It's just fear. And fear will find a host. It's a parasite. It's a parasite. It wants to eat you alive. It wants to control you. It wants to run the ship. So you have to face fear itself. And fear itself says, I have to control because I'm not safe. So when you feel safe and you trust yourself and you have confidence in your ability to navigate what comes your way, it makes it easier to let go of that control. But again, that comes from learning to read your own energy and being able to discern. A lot of people don't like to invest in that. But the truth is that's the greatest return on investment that you will ever get, because you will need that skill for the rest of your life. When it is toxic and constant negativity, I had to disconnect from them. They were not coming from a place of love. I chose to not stay stuck. Good for you. You know, I'm a big proponent of telling you that blood family doesn't mean anything. We get to choose our family. Vanessa, I've thought of that. I've thought maybe I was moving to Texas. That's crossed my mind. Because it's coming up everywhere. They'll put it in my, that's what your guides will do. When you ask a question, they will keep putting it in your path until you either see it or no longer need it. So Texas has been coming up everywhere. So it's very possible. Mystics Haven says I'm a minimalist too. It almost becomes, when you start to become super aware of yourself and your heart starts to open and you become super expanded. You know why people keep their heart closed? Because the more open your heart is, the more you feel. And you have to just be able to discern and manage those feelings, what's yours and what's not. And a lot of people just don't have that skill. Again, why I preach it and offer it as something for you guys to learn. So the more you open your heart, right, the more you're going to feel. But being around family, like family is a choice. There are people family to me is people I know I can count on and depend on. That I know that will love me unconditionally. Tanya is my family. You guys all know Tanya by now. Tanya is my family. She's probably the only person that, no, there's a couple people. I wouldn't say she's the only one, but she's one of a very small group of people who doesn't judge me, who loves me when I'm emotional, who loves me when I'm eccentric, who loves me when I'm deep in my Pisces energy and channeling wisdom and speaking very esoterically. When I'm the crazy one that's dancing in the airport, she loves me no matter what, unconditionally. And then I have people that are family that are toxic. They want to project their pain, their problems, their anger onto me. And that's a choice. You can be around those people if you are good at managing your energy, if you're good at discerning what's yours and what's not. But if you're not, you will take that energy on as your own and it will drain you in minutes. It will drain you in minutes. So until you have that ability locked down pretty well, you have to let go of toxic people. You have to. Hi, Sherry. Sherry's family. Barbara says, Vicky has become my family. Yay! That's how you ended up in Austin, Vicky? Listening, just being guided? I love you too, Sherry. So I'm really glad that was brought up, because it's really important to recognize, and here's the other thing, something that's come up a lot in private mentorship is that we feel like we have to stick it out with our family. We have to deal with this, and we have to do that. We have a hard time letting go of those people. And I've not gotten used to this new desk, so I'm not very comfortable. We have a hard time letting go of those people, or sometimes letting go of the story of what they did to us, the pain that we experienced, the abuse that we experienced, the gaslighting, the narcissism, whatever it is, right? The projection of their own pain. Sometimes we don't let go of those stories or those people, because if we let go of of that energy, of that story, let's focus on the story. If I let go of the story, I'm going to use, who can I use for this? I'm just going to use my mom. Before I repaired my relationship with my mom, if I would I was afraid to let go of the story of how she treated me or her lack thereof, because that was the only way she showed her love, right? And if I let go of that story, then it would be as if she never loved me at all, because that's the only way she showed love, right? So sometimes we have relationships, whether it is our family or a significant other or a friend, that person, however they treat you, and if that's the way that they know how to show love, and that's the only way that they've shown you love, when you let go of that, it feels like it wasn't for nothing at all, right? Then they never really loved me. But the two need to be separated. They have to be separated. They treated me like this because they didn't know how to love me in the way that I needed them, because they don't even know how to love themselves. You can't love another without loving yourself. And I think a lot of people get confused by that, but most people think that they love somebody and they really don't love themselves. What they're doing is they're loving how that person makes them feel. You're never in love with somebody. You're in love with how the version of you that you're in love with, how that person, how you are, right? The version of you are with them. You're in love with who you are with them because you don't know who you are. And if you do know who you are, the love is even more magnified because that person is loving you just as you are, right? So you feel that and it's magnified. But they have to remain separate. They loved you, but they also hurt you because they didn't know how to love you in the way that you needed them to. So the two can exist. So you let go of that, the way, that if I let go of the story that they did this to me or they treated me this way, then it lets go of the only way they ever showed me love. No, they did love you. They just didn't know how to show it to you in the way that you needed them to. And then they also caused you pain. What time is it? 47 minutes in. I live in Georgia and have no one here that I feel a connection with. Girl, or I can't tell if you're female. It says Mystics Haven. I feel you. I live here. I know people here, but I haven't found anybody that I could really build a personal connection with or a personal community with, because there's not a abundance of like-minded people here. There isn't. But something that my guides tell me kind of annoys me sometimes, but they say that, again, that's a vibrational response to my state of being internally. And when I let go of the annoyance of that, I realized that the reason why I've isolated myself over this last year and a half was so that I could heal. I isolated myself so that I could master my boundaries and I could master who I am, so that I no longer lose myself in other people. Because when I lose myself in other people, I become what they want me to be, or I do what they want me to do out of fear. Because my whole life, that's how I was raised. When I was a child, I was especially in my teens, I was in a very abusive home. And if I did not do and be what my stepmother wanted me to be, I was physically harmed. And so that programming stuck because it was so dramatic and traumatic that I spent the rest of my life becoming a chameleon and doing and being what everyone else wanted me to be safe. And I was afraid of that happening again. So I isolated myself out of fear. So really look at that. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start getting back out there, to being more social, to doing more things. And I think that that is, um, possibly part of why I'm going to be moving around. I don't even know if I'm going to be in one location or if I'm going to just be a nomad for a little while, because I'm ready to have fun again. Like I told you guys, I lost my joy because I went through a very deep healing when I was editing my book. My book has, this past year, going through my book and really tying up the loose ends of that healing has, um, really put me into a whole new season of evolution. She says, yes, I left my husband over a year ago and have isolated myself to come to know myself better. Yeah. So it just sounds like you're probably getting ready, you know, to you're feeling that your soul's like, okay, we're done with isolation now. Can we go and mix with other people? And you guys were never alone, even though it feels like we're terribly alone sometimes. That's just a part of our soul's growth. We're going to go through a season where we need to isolate and we need to be alone. We need to pull back from people and we have to find out who we are and what. And that's the thing. Boundaries, again, is who we are, right? Our values, our virtues, what we will tolerate, what we demand from ourselves to be reciprocated externally by another self. They change. So as you evolve, as you become the next highest potential version of you, your boundaries have to be adjusted. It's a constant thing. And there's no point of explaining this to your family members. They're most likely not going to get it. So, and over explaining ourselves or explaining ourselves is a trauma response. We don't need to explain ourselves. Whether you're saying no or it doesn't matter. You don't need to explain yourself. Vanessa says, I have been dating the last couple of months and have noticed every man I met was a part of myself showing up. Yes, girl. But I haven't found the one yet. Is this a good year with a possibility to come across a great partner? I want to travel and have fun sharing with someone. I don't know, for you personally, I would have to do a reading for you. Bye, Sherry. Um, I don't know for you personally, but I know for this year, and Vanessa, you should have access to the 2022 webinar because you were in my membership. Um, One of the things that the guides brought through for 2022 was this was a year that a lot of people would meet their soulmate. So maybe it is that year. I know that this 2022 there's going to be a lot of death. There's going to be a lot of divorce. There's going to be a lot of people um, abruptly changing their lives. There's going to be a lot of people meeting their soulmate partner. Again, this is a 6th year. So 6th year is about that balance, right? But it's also about grace. And that balance comes, regaining your balance comes after you have mastered your instability. That's why I said 2020 years, the year of grace, because grace only comes after massive transformation, right? After massive transmutation. So this year is going to look like the world's falling apart. And it's also simultaneously on the other end of the lens, depending on the frequency that you're looking through, it's going to look like the world is becoming the most beautiful place there ever was. How do you discern your own versus collective? How do you project thoughts out to send a message? If you want to know how to discern your own versus the collective, I would join my Energy Matrix program, phase 1 at least. Actually, the whole thing isn't open anymore. It's just phase 1. But I literally teach you how to do that. It's not really something I could articulate here, nor would I, because I have spent so much of my energy creating a beautiful teaching for you guys. but it's important to discern your own versus the collective. I know a lot of people, they wake up and they have anxiety, or they are like, I don't go out in the public anymore because I can feel everybody's shit, and I feel anxious and all of that. It's just because you are discerning you're feeling everyone's energy, and you think it's yours, or you think it's about you, or you think it's because of you. So I know for me, I went from never having anxiety to going through my awakening and going, oh my God, I can't go anywhere because I was taking on everybody's energy. I would literally sit at in a restaurant at a booth, and I had so much energy around me and in me that I was aware of, that my whole body would convulse and shake, and it would shake the table. And it's because I hadn't mastered yet how to discern. Now I can go into a mall, I can go to a festival, and go to a concert, and I don't take anybody else's crap on. I don't feel it. Oh, that person was behind on the feed. Yeah, so Vanessa, there's a good chance that you might meet your person this year. When I evolve to a higher level, yes, the boundaries do change. The bar gets raised high. It does, right? Your standards go up, right? Because that's what your boundaries are. It's your standards. Your standards are like, yeah, what I used to accept, I'm no longer going to accept. And now, that's part of the whole test. They're saying, listen to this. What you speak, your brain begins to seek evidence in tangible form. This is why it is so important to speak in affirmation, speak in solution, speak from your higher perspective. Speak it. So instead of a tangible example of this would be, instead of calling your girlfriend or texting her and saying, I am sick, I feel like crap, you could text and say, I am healing, and I'm giving myself the space to let my body do what it needs to purge. You see, that sounds so lighter. And so the body's like, oh, we're healing? Okay, let me look for evidence of that. So now the brain begins to send signals. Are we healing? What do we gotta do to heal? She says we're healing. So really become aware of how you speak, how you talk. And shoot, I am not perfect with this either, but it's something that I'm becoming very aware of, because I'm actually, as soon as I get off of this in a few minutes, I'm going to be teaching. So I'm in phase 3 of the energy matrix right now for the people that were in the full mastermind, the full 6-month program. So we're in phase 3 right now, where we're working with learning how to channel their higher self. They'll be learning how to do mediumship. They'll be learning how to access the Akashic records. They'll be learning how to channel frequency. And a few of those people are in private mentorship with me. So they're really honing in on the private mentorship, their own gifts, right? Their own abilities. But anyway, so when I get off of here, I'm going to be teaching the class on bringing in the higher self and operating from the higher self. Because last week we talked about discerning between the ego and the higher self. And the easiest way to discern between the ego and the higher self is how you speak. Intuition, aka your higher self, speaks in affirmation. It speaks in solution. It speaks in incomplete sentences. It speaks in a way that goes, what? Why would I do that? Again, Texas, right? Texas. Okay. What about Texas? It's kind of, the human is like, this is annoying. You're not giving me all the information. Well, they're only meant to give you breadcrumbs, because you're here to figure out the how. Spirit is not meant to give you the how. That's why the how I did has all become courses or my book. because I had to figure out the how to save my own life. And then I share it so that you can use some of those tools to maybe figure out yours so that you don't have to do so hard of work, right? That's why we have way showers like me. We go through it. If you resonate with what I go through, then you can learn from me, if you so choose, how I navigated it. And if it's not me, you'll find the person who is for you. But spirit won't give you the how. They give you the incomplete breadcrumb trails to get you to move to the next stepping stone on your path. Another one was one day I was in meditation, and I am a physical medium, which means that I can do transconfiguration, which means entities I can allow them to trans channel, right? You've seen the channels that close like Bashar, they close their eyes, or Abraham Hicks, they close their eyes. I'm a physical medium. I have that ability. But another aspect of my physical mediumship is I manifest voice. So my clairaudience, most clairaudience is you hearing your own voice. I can also hear voice outside of me. My energy field will allow them to create external voice. That's part of the physical mediumship. So I was in meditation one day and I heard outside of me very loudly, Costa Rica. I was like, okay, that was it. Just Costa Rica. When your higher self or your intuition speaks to you, it will cause an inquiry inside of you. It will cause you to inquire. And something that I will share with you that I taught in the energy matrix, and it came through in a channeling. I was private mentoring somebody, and this came through as I was guiding them. When the intuition speaks, it's like they showed it as like a light in your, just to give you a human version of this, okay? We use metaphors to make it human. It's like a light. Imagine a light turning on in your brain. And as you inquire into that intuitive hit, the light expands. This is like why I get excited about teaching spiritual development, because then you begin to learn how to use your primary clair extrasensory ability to read energy, right? Including your own. So the light expands and you get more information. The more you inquire, the bigger the light gets. But oftentimes what happens is we get an intuitive hit and you don't notice it because it was the first thing and it was quiet and it was subtle and you weren't paying attention. But you might have caught just enough of it that you're like, wait, what? All of a sudden the ego comes in and is super loud. And the ego is heavy and dense. So we'll use the word dark. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just heavy and dense. It's limited. And when you allow that to take over, it covers that light. It was a really cool metaphor that came through when I was working with a private client that I ended up using in the energy matrix and for phase 3. So intuition speaks in incomplete sentences, but always in solution or affirmation, meaning it's telling you what to do. It will never use a negative connotation because the universe doesn't know the word no. You ever notice how children don't? That's like you say no and they're like, no, no, no. And they start using it all the time. Children don't develop their root chakra until the age of 7. So through 1 to 7, they're developing. Again, this is something that you could learn in one of my courses, right? The chakra system has been taught very incorrectly, for a human way of saying it. So they're still very pure. They're still very connected to that all one consciousness. They speak in that way. So they don't know what no means. The universe doesn't know what no means. This is why I'm always telling people, you are always manifesting. There's never a time when you're not manifesting. So when you use negative connotations, you might as well take the don't or the can't or the won't out of that sentence, because that's what you're asking the universe for. I don't like when you're angry. All they hear is you're angry, right? Or the negative connotation is removed. I don't want this to happen. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be broke. The universe is like, oh, you want to be broke? You want to be broke? Okay, we can make that happen. Honestly, I don't even think your brain recognizes the negative connotation. What you speak, your brain begins to seek proof of. So if you say you're broke, it's going to be like, okay, we're supposed to be broke, people. Rearrange the set. We're broke. We're broke. Rearrange the set. She wants to be broke. So I hope you guys get that. I know it's taken me a long time to get that. So listen to, this is another part of discerning and reading your energy, you know? The collective consciousness really makes me question patience and copyrights. Patents and copyrights. There isn't, that's a human thing. Patents, copyrights, trademarks, that's a human thing. We are all pulling from the same one source. I am you, you are me. The only difference is we pull it through our lens of belief systems, through our lens of experience, and it changes the information. It changes the context, how it's spoken, the energy of it, the way it is. For example, in my book, I talk about a technique that I use, a technique that I developed, that I channeled before Marie Conduit, I don't know what her name is, the clean, organized lady. Part of one of the things that I wrote in my book would be like, when I buy something or when I'm purging, I hold something and I say, you know, does this bring me joy or does it bring me pain? But because she said that, she coined it because she became famous and was on TV. I had to mention her, even though I wrote that before she was ever on TV. And I never even knew who she was. So my book was being edited and I was being told that I needed to give her credit so that I didn't, you know, basically get sued. And I was annoyed because I was like, I didn't even know who the hell she was. So it's a human thing. We're all channeling and tapping into the same one source. Another example of this, years and years ago, when I was really young, my dad, so I was an adult by this. I think I was like, I don't know, 20, somewhere around there. Anyway, in San Diego, we have the access to the desert. And I grew up with quads and dune buggies and, you know, playing in the sand. And we would go out there and we would camp and we would do all those things. And my dad took some PVC pipe and he made this 3-tiered ladder system. He took probably about 1.5 feet of rope and put golf balls on either end, drilled them out, and we would play this game. He called it ladder golf. About a year after that, people started coming into our camp. Hey, what's that? Hey, what's that? And I kept telling my dad, you should patent that. You could make a lot of money. And he did it. 3 years later, it was in every store and on TV. And he looked at me and he said, damn, you were right. I told him, so when we get ideas, if you don't take that idea and run with it, guaranteed you will see it on an infomercial or on someone else's book, page, website, course, because it's just a collective thought field going like this. And what we attach to becomes true. So patents, trademarks, copyrights, it's all a very human, separate ownership. This is mine. Just what it is. It does hinder humanity, but it also is a part of the separation that we're here to learn from, you know? But that's a judgment too. The only thing it protects is snakes. It's a judgment. You're saying that what they're doing is wrong or what they're using is wrong. It's not. It's none of it's wrong. It's just an experience. And it's showing up to us for a reason. We have to ask what it's showing us. We all need a Tanya in our life. I feel quite lonely on my journey. I feel blessed with all the life lessons you teach us. Please come visit Amsterdam. I would love to. I wonder if there is an international community based on the New Earth path. I am an international community based upon the New Earth path and have been. See, but it's okay for you to think that what they do is wrong. I don't feel like there is a right or a wrong, and that's part of being New Earth. New Earth, there's no judgment. Judgment has to go. We came here as souls to have a tangible experience of frequency. And some of that frequency is going to be denser and more uncomfortable, and some is going to be lighter and more expansive. And the ego is the only thing that can label something as right or wrong, because what is right for me may be wrong for you. And what's right for you may be wrong for me. And whatever somebody does that we deem like murder or rape or abuse that is done, we judge them and say what you're doing is wrong or bad. And I'm not saying I condone people who do any of those things. I've been a sexual abuse victim. I've been an abuse victim. It's just an experience. And it's this is what separates old earth and new earth. Again, when I see people who commit crimes, I see them through my heart and I look at them and I say, what happened to you? That you have no power left. That you feel that the only way for you to be empowered is to go take someone else's power away against their will. That person is showing that they are in a disempowered state. And I've been there. I have been in that disempowered state and it was a gift to be able to hit that space where I wanted to kill. And I wasn't going to kill anybody else because I can't hurt a fly, so I would have taken my own life. I've hit that space of no power, of hopelessness, of the only thing left to do would be either to take someone else's power, to feel empowered, or to take my own life. I've been in that space a few times. Those people chose to go take someone else's power. And as children, and sometimes even as adults, we can't always control our circumstances, but we can choose how we respond. That is our power. How we respond, how we process, how we hold on, how we let go, how we use our situation. We turn our pain into purpose. Your job isn't to protect the innocent. Your job is to be aligned to you, to work on you. And you can speak up about things, but not from a space of negativity, not from a space of this is wrong. Your boundaries is what you allow and what you don't allow. You can't control anybody else. The minute you think that you can control another person, you're not even in control of your own state of being. You're in fear. Your job is to be the change, to show a better way. So what do you promote? You promote what you want to see in the world. You support organizations that are being the change. Because if you're just on social media or out in the world talking about what's wrong, you're a part of the problem. And I know that that's probably going to trigger you, and that's okay. Two wrongs don't make a right. We have to work on healing and rehabilitating and addressing the root problems here. And that comes from a heart, and that comes from being the change. Otherwise, you're just out there going like this. I disagree, but that's my opinion. I think everybody needs to be self-centered first. If you don't come from think about, what does that say? Self-centered. I'm centered in myself. Are you supposed to be centered in somebody else's person? No. We have labeled self-centeredness as a bad thing, but I need to be centered in myself so that I don't lose myself in somebody else. Am I supposed to go center myself in you or in someone else? No. I have to be centered in myself. I'm very educated on narcissism, very educated on narcissism. Again, that is a separated ego construct. The narcissist isn't just self-centered, they're abusive. We all need to be centered in ourselves. For me, for you, for us. It can never be just for them or for everyone. It has to first stem from you. So all of this conversation that we just tapped into with the narcissism, self-centered, that's all ego. That's all old earth. That's all lower dimensional frequencies. That is not coming from a space of we're going to address the root and break the cycle. You know what I mean? So this was a really good chat, you guys. I want to remind you that, hi Zoe from the UK. I want to remind you guys that shortly, I haven't decided when, I will be opening up a YouTube membership. So I know a lot of you are on here from Facebook, but I'm going to be opening up a YouTube membership that will be this. It'll be me coming on live multiple times during the week and having these chats and conversations. And that will be, that is what feels good to me that I'm happily doing right now for free. So I want to continue to do that, but in a membership setting. So I'll still be doing this, but pretty soon it's going to switch to where it will be a membership and I will be live there more than I will be here. It'll be on YouTube. So I want you to know that that's coming. So if you guys enjoy this, then you can look forward to that and it will be super affordable. If you like today's chat, you can donate. That supports me showing up more for the collective, or you can share this broadcast out. And if you feel called to learn the greatest tool that you will need for the rest of your life, I highly suggest you take a look at the Energy Matrix Phase 1 under my digital course experiences. It's the thing that the most people, everybody needs to invest in, whether it's from me or from somebody else, to learn to read and discern your own energy so that you can find trust and confidence in yourself, to navigate whatever shows up and start to live more from your heart space, that judgment-free place, and allow yourself to walk into the uncertainty and unknown without feeling like you need to grab on for control. You know what I mean? So take that and find your resource. If it's not me, find the resource that is for you that will help you do that, because it will be your greatest asset in life moving forward. And that will become very apparent this year as we go. You're so welcome. So I love you guys. Thanks for hopping on. And I will see you guys next time.